Hey guys, it's Jackson here from Titanic Games, and today I'm going to be showing you how to set up a physical material footsteps kind of thing. So if you guys have ever played games where your players' footsteps will change based on kind of the material or landscape that they're running on, right? So if you're running on grass, it makes one sound, or you're running on, snow, it makes another, rocks, even more. That's kind of what we're going to be doing. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Now, first thing I want to point out is that I am using the third-person example template, and this is 4.14. So let's go ahead and get started now. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually create the physical materials and show you how to get them set up so that the game registers them. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll right-click, create a new folder that we'll just call Phys Materials. Okay. Open this up, and then we'll right-click again, and we'll go under Physics. And you'll see that there's only one option, and that's physical material. So we'll select that, and you need to choose physical material from here, say select, and there it is. So we'll denote this with PM for physical material, underscore, and let's go ahead and go with a generic example such as grass. Okay, and now we'll open it up. Now, naming it grass doesn't automatically make it, so that it represents grass, or like it is grass, right? You have to explicitly tell the physical material what surface type to use. Okay, so if you look at the surface types, you'll see that all there is default. If we click the drop down, there's only default. Okay, so basically you need to define your own identifiers for the different surfaces that you have. Okay, so to do this, you'll go to Edit, Project Settings. That will open up. Then you want to navigate to Physics, and then go down here to where it says Physical Surface, and you'll notice that there's a surface type default, which is the default one in the game. You can't change it or edit it at all, right? It's just there. But then you have all these other different surface types. I believe there's 62 different ones, as it says here. Okay, so for this example, we'll go ahead and just make 2. All right, so for surface type 1, all you have to do to create it is just give it a new name. So we'll call it grass, hit enter, and we'll call surface type 2 rock, hit enter. And now these two are now options for you to choose. Okay, so if we go back to the PM grass, and under surface type we click the drop down. Oh, excuse me. Sometimes you just need to refresh it. Let's go ahead. 1 second. Okay, there they are. All right. So if it ever does that, just close it and open it again. Okay, but now you can see that we have the two new surface types. We have grass and rock. So for this one, we'll call it grass. That's all we need to do. Okay. We'll create one more under Physics, again physical material, select it, PM underscore rock. Okay, if we open this up, under surface type, we'll select rock, and that's all we have to do. Okay, great. So now we have the physical materials made, and we have our surface type set up. Okay, next is the question of how do we add them to our materials so that our character can ultimately discern what footstep he needs to play. Okay. So to do that, I'll show you right here we'll just create 2 basic materials. So I'll right click, create a material, call it M underscore grass. There it is. We'll open it up, and all I'm going to do for the color is add a 3 or a vector 3, which is if you just hold the 3 key, if you hold the 3 key and click, it'll create it for you. Plug that into base color, change its color to kind of a green, something like that, and then we'll hold the 1 key, add a new value, plug it into roughness, okay, and we'll change it to about 0.85. Alright, there we go. So now here's our grass. Now to actually add the physics material, if you just click in the empty graph or select this node here, you'll see that there's a phys material that you can select. So if you click the drop down, you can see the ones that you have. Okay, so we'll choose our grass, and there we go. It now associates that grass physics material with this material. Okay, so we'll save that. And then we'll go ahead and duplicate this, create a new one that we'll call M underscore rock. Alright, open this up. We'll change it to kind of a more rock color. So maybe kind of a, I don't know, a dark gray with maybe a tint of, okay, yeah, a tint of, I don't know, orange, yellow, whatever. I'm getting too fancy about it. But anyways, now that you'll see again under Phys material, we can change it to PM rock. and now it associates that rock physics material with this material. Okay, so all you need to do to apply it then is just drop it onto whatever surface you want, and there it'll be. Okay, we'll add it onto these. Yeah, we'll put the rock onto these, something like that, and there we go. So now we have rock and we have grass. Right. Next, what we need to do is set up kind of how we'll determine which surface that we've hit. Okay, and to do this, we're going to use what's called an anim notify in the character's animations. So basically, what we'll do is every time that the character looks like they're about to take a step, right, in the animation, we'll add this notify that will, send out a trace that will check which surface we are hitting and then play the corresponding sound. Okay. Now the setup for this, we need to take our third-person character, edit him, and we'll add two new variables here. So this first one we'll call grass footstep. Am I spelling that right? No. Footstep. Okay, and we'll change this to a sound base. And basically a sound base lets you choose either a sound wave or a sound cue file. So either of those will be viable options for this sound. Next we'll add one more that we will call rock footstep, and there we go. That's all we have to do. I guess next we'll probably, we'll set the default values to something. So I do have the starter content enabled, right? But so I'm going to be using what they provide. So for the grass, let's go with the explosion. For the rock, I'm going to go with the collapse. So one thing about this setup is that you want to use sound cues or sound waves that aren't looping, right? Because they're just going to fire once, and you don't want them to repeat multiple times. Now, if you're using something like a first-person game where you're using their movement to drive kind of a looping footstep, then you're going to have to set this up a little differently. All right. So both of these sound cues are just fire once and they don't loop. All right. Now, one thing I do want to point out, if you want to find footsteps, it's super easy. Just a quick search on Open Game Art, and I found a huge library of different footsteps, so you can play around with those, use them for free, etc. Okay, but we're not going to do that. All right. So next, what we need to do is we need to actually find the animation, the animations, and the animation blueprint that we'll use to ultimately set up the logic. Okay. So what we'll do for that is we'll go to mannequin, character, mesh, and we want to open up the skeleton here. Okay. Now, besides the skeleton, we also need his anim graph, so we'll go back to the mannequin folder, go to animations, and open up the anim BP. Okay, great. So first what we'll do inside the animation blueprint here is we'll go add a new event called event initialize animation. This is essentially like an event begin play node, right? It just gets fired once when the graph first starts, okay? And what we want to do with that is we want to right click and say try get pawn owner, and with this we want to cast to our third person character so that we can get a reference to him, so that we can access the character's mesh and the footstep sounds. Okay, now as the third person character, we want to right click, promote to variable, and we'll just call this character ref for character reference. All right, there we go. Now the reason we're doing it here instead of like inside the anim notify or on like event update is because that way we only have to ever do this cast once, and then we always have the reference, so we don't have to constantly waste that overhead on casting. Okay, so next what we need to do is add the anim notify so that we can add those events that are associated with them to this graph. So what we'll do for that is we'll go ahead and we're going to click this animation tab at the top here. Okay, this will open up a new tab specifically for our characters' animations, and we'll go find the walk one first. Okay, now in walk, what we'll do is we'll kind of, oops, having a little difficulty navigating, my bad. Okay, we'll kind of find his footstep and kind of where he connects with the ground. Okay, so starting from the beginning, we go to about there. Right there looks like a solid, he's on the ground taking his footstep. So here, if we go up to the notifies, we can right click, add a notify, and we'll add a new notify. This one we'll call footstep underscore left. Okay, because it's his left footstep. Then we'll drag out, and wherever he makes contact for his right, so maybe right there-ish, and add a new notify again. We'll call this one footstep underscore right. Okay, so now that we've added those two notifies, we can do the same for our run. So we'll go to run. You'll see here he makes contact right there about. Okay, add that same notify, okay, because we already added it. And then go to the right about there maybe. And there we go. Okay, so now that we have that, we can go back to our animation blueprint and implement these. So what we'll do is just type footstep left, and you'll find the anim notify associated with it. Okay, and then we'll also go find footstep right. There it is. Perfect. Okay, so as I mentioned near the beginning, we're going to be using kind of a line trace to, you know, go from from a bone down to the ground to kind of query what surface type that we've hit. Right, so to do this, we need to get our character reference, and we're going to drag out and say get socket location, and we're going to get the socket location of our mesh. Okay, the mesh being this guy right here. Now, what a lot of people might not realize is that get socket location doesn't mean you have to have a socket on your skeleton. It can also get bone names. Okay, so we're gonna use the character's feet or foot bones for this. Feet bones, yeah. And this is the left one, so we'll call this foot underscore L, and this is the exact name that shows up for it in the skeleton. Okay, so if I click down here, you'll see foot R, okay, and foot L. All right. Oh my gosh, I realize I've just been doing all the animations the wrong direction the whole time. You know what? That's okay. We'll just move forward with it and just act like everything's okay. Okay. Yeah. So really, you'd probably want to reverse. You'd want to reverse where these take place. Okay. Footstep right would go there. Footstep left would go here. Okay. But I'm just gonna move right by it. Okay. Just make that change for yourself. Okay. So footstep left. What we want to do is do a line trace by channel. Okay, and we're going to use this socket location as the start. Okay, and now for the end, we're going to say vector minus vector, and we're just going to subtract, how about 100 in the z direction. Okay, so we'll trace down basically. Okay, now we'll go ahead and add a debug type here for duration just so that we can see it. And then we'll change the trace channel to camera. And then just for safety, we'll take actors to ignore and say make array. And the actor we want to ignore is our character reference. Okay, so we want to make sure that we don't hit our character while we're tracing for the footstep. All right. Next, what we'll do is we'll take the return value that tells us if we hit something or not and do a branch. All right. And if we hit something, then we want to break our out hit result. And now what this out hit gives us is, well, I mean, it gives us a lot of information, but what we're concerned with here is this phys material reference, okay? And basically what it does is it gives you a reference to the actual physical material used. It doesn't tell you explicitly the surface type that you hit, right? So you can't like do a, you know, switch on the physical material, or you can't say cast to whatever physical material, right? Instead, what we need to do is get a reference to, or rather get the surface type variable on that phys material. Okay, so if you recall, if I go back here to physical materials, open up grass, right, we need to get this variable, this surface type. Okay, so go back to our anim graph, we'll drag out, say get surface type, and now we have it. Okay, so with this value, what we can do is we can do a switch, and it'll auto-populate all the different you know, surface types that we have. Okay, so next what we need to do is, you know, play a different sound depending on, you know, which material it is. So we'll drag out, say play sound, and we'll choose play sound at location. Okay, so we can copy that down here. The same for rock. Now what we need to do is get the sounds that we want to play. All right, so you know, you could totally just set these you know, from the actual node themselves, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to use the reference from our character. So we'll say get, and we'll say get grass footstep. Plug that in. Then we'll say get rock footstep. Plug that in as well. And the reason that I like to do it with variables like this from the actual character is so that it's easier to manage, what footsteps are playing, because the anim graph is referencing your character, so it's just more helpful, at least in my mind, to keep all the references in one place, I guess. But you can do it however you want. Now for the location, we'll take the location of the hit, plug that in for both, and there we go. That's how you set it up. You could add one for default, but we're not going to do that. You might just actually want to use, maybe the same sound as, of one of your other materials. But we'll go ahead and take all of this now, except for this footstep. So we'll control click to get rid of that. And we'll copy it all, paste it down here, because it's pretty much the exact same thing, except we just need to change up the name of the bone here. So for our right footstep, we'll make this foot_r. Okay. And there we go. So it's all the same exact thing. Everything's set up the way we need it to, and it should be ready to work. So we'll go ahead and press play now. Okay, and we start running. You'll see that it's drawing the traces. And I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. Probably not, but it is playing the grass footstep sound, which is, as you know, the sound that we selected was the collapse. So it's really annoying right now. But then when we move to the the grass was the explosion, and then as we move to the rock material here, it's playing the collapse. Alright. So yeah, it's working, it's great, and basically you can add these notifies to any kind of animations that you want the footsteps to work with. So for example, your jump end or your jump start, right? You could add those as well. Okay. So that's pretty much everything. The only other thing is how it works with landscapes, right? That's a little bit different. So I guess I can show that too really quick. So what we'll do is we'll create a new material for our landscape. Call this m_landscape. Open it up. And this isn't going to be anything fancy. Alright, I'm not trying to make like a advanced landscape texture, material here. So I'm just going to close everything for now, and all I want is I'm going to get the grass, take these two things, copy them, paste them in here, plug this roughness value into roughness. Okay, then I'm going to go get the rock, copy his color, put that into the landscape as well, so now we have both the same colors. Okay, and what we're going to do is drag off of this one and say landscape, we're not going to drag off, we're just going to say landscape blend. Okay, and on the blend we'll add two new elements. Okay, and this first one we'll make it an alpha blend, this second one we'll make it a height blend. Okay, and then for the layer name we'll give it a name of grass for the first, and the second will be rock. Okay, so we'll plug these in like so. For the height, we'll just choose a 1 constant, so just hit 1 and click, and that'll add it. Plug that in, and that should be fine. And then we'll plug that into base color. There we go. So now that it's ready to use, we can go back out and we'll create a landscape. Okay, so I'm just going to use something really small for this example. All right, maybe I'll move it over a little bit so it's not overlapping. Okay, and we'll select the landscape material that we want. So just drag and drop that, hit create, and there we go. So we've got our landscape. Now the only other thing we need to do is if we click on paint, you'll see that there's these target layers down here, right? There's a grass and a rock, but we need to set these up. Okay, so what we'll do is click this little plus, we'll create a non-weight blended layer, and I'll just add it to the content browser for now. So we'll call this grass layer info. Add another one, non-weighted, called rock layer info. Oops, I added that to the wrong place, excuse me. I'll just go move that back to the content browser. Okay, But there we go. We have these two layer infos for our landscape. And now inside the layer infos is where you actually add the physics material associated with it. Okay, you don't add it to the material itself, right? Don't add it here. You add it into the layer info. So if we open up the grass, you can see it has a phys material. Choose grass. Okay, for rock, we'll choose rock. There we go. Save it all. And now if we paint it, right? If we paint on the, I'll make this a lot bigger so it just covers everything right away. Okay. But if we paint it and then move our character, let's go find our character really quick. He should start playing the same footstep, or like, you know, the footstep that he needs to play. So if we try it out, so he's still doing the traces, which is good, and he's playing the correct footstep. So there we go. There's how you set up, you know, different physics materials to work with footsteps and, you know, things of that nature. And you can apply this concept to really anything that you want to, you know, get the physics material of a, you know, of a surface. You know, cases that I've used this in the past is for weapons, for example. Like if you shoot water, right, you'd want to play kind of a water hit sound and play some water special effects, you know, like splashing and whatnot. Or, you know, if you shot like concrete, you want like some concrete chunks falling out instead of the water, right? So that's just kind of one case that you might use it besides footsteps. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this helpful. Sorry if it went a little long, but I hope you liked the video, and if you like it, like or subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.